Okay.
So I think it's easier to use hands.
Okay.
Don't matter if that one is sticking out.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. So then.
Then you can push it back
push
in.
it back, yeah.
Okay. So it goes big hole, ring, small hole, squish.
But the big hole has the
Plastic on it.
yeah, the plastic.
Yeah, because you put a lot over here, this one.
That's
this
never
one,
gonna fit.
It's a purpose why it's like we call combo. This is like we had a one regular hole in both sides bigger.
Okay.
So
Okay, so I take this side goes in there. No, ring. I almost made a mistake already. I did make a mistake already. This is supposed to be the easy part, isn't it?
Okay.
Nice job.
Perfect.
Now squish it. The other way. It's got to stand up tall, right?
What do you mean?
So that goes
this
in.
way.
Yep.
I haven't hit the gym lately. I want to go down.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Manufacturing Alliance podcast. As always, I'm your host, Tony DeMakis, with Alliance Specialties in Laser Sales, where we are mold makers that don't build molds. We get to do all the other things that you, the mold maker, don't have time or resources or people to do. Because let's face it, it's hard to find people to do all the things that you need done. And that's why we want to help you out with that. We want to take some of that off your plate. That's why we do the polishing, the laser welding, laser engraving, hot runner repair, preventative mold maintenance, all those things that need to be done that's hard to find people to do. We have the people to do that, and we want to help you out. We want to let you build the molds, and we want to do all the extras. So if you're interested in doing that, just send us an email or go to the website, which is just alliancesls.com. And we will give you all that information. We also build and sell American-made, that's right, American-made, that's important, laser welding and laser engraving systems. Why is that important? It's important because if something happens to go wrong, you need to know who you trust. You need to know that you're going to get quick, reliable support. You need to know that you're going to be able to get parts for whatever you need. You need to know that if your machine goes down, we probably have a demo that you can use while things are happening to get it back up and running. If you have questions, you're going to get the guys that built the machine answering the questions for you. It's not somebody just looking through a binder or a clipboard to try and give you the right answers. The other reason that that's important is because we like to give back. We want to be part of the solution in all respects. And so when you buy an ID1 laser welding system or a laser engraver, if you want us to, a portion of that sale will go to the Tim Tebow Foundation to help end human trafficking for children. We don't want to see that continue happening. We want to be able to make a difference in everything that we're doing. It's a huge focus for us as a company to not just stand back and let bad things continue to happen. We want to be involved. We want to be part of solutions in any way that we can. So if you're looking for a laser welding machine, give us a call. Let us come out. We'll do a demo for you in your location, free of charge. We just want to make sure that it's the right machine for what you need. We're happy to do that. John will come out with the van and just get you up and running, and hopefully you like it. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, cool. We'll take it away. That's all there is to say about that. We got a couple things coming up. We will be at the National Plastics Conference in September. It's September 14th through the 17th in Houston, Texas. We've been there. I've been there a few times before. It's a great conference, amazing speakers, opportunities to get involved, opportunities to network. Flip is there. It's their young leaders program. And every year they do a community beautification project where we go out to the parks and we just clean up garbage. It's great to be able to give back in that way. Flip is for those young plastic professionals who are under 40 years old. I am not one of them because I am not under 40 years old. But they even let old people go out and pick up garbage. So if that's something that you're interested in, come out to the plastics conference. It's not just about picking up garbage. It's about learning what's happening in the plastics industry when that comes to sustainability, when it comes to things that are happening on a geopolitical level. Like all those things matter. And you can either just sit on the couch and complain about stuff that's happening, or you can go and you can get involved and you can make a difference. So I hope to see you out in Houston. Just go to the National Plastics Conference website. You can just scan the QR code, and you can save $200 on your registration by putting in the code Plastics Matters. And you'll get $200 off your registration. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that, seeing all my plastics friends. And then shortly after that, we will be at IMTS. That's actually the same week. So we will also have a booth at IMTS. We'll be showing off all the latest laser welding, laser engraving gear. You can test out a couple of the things, but you can schedule your demos to come out and do that. And then right after that, we're going to be having our annual Alliance golf outing, where all the proceeds will benefit our friends at iWarriors, where they give iPads to combat wounded veterans. Like I said, we want to continue to give back. We want to continue to try and make a difference. And this is a way we can do that. It's September 25th. It's a Friday, like it always is. Do I have to be a good golfer to play? No. If you're a good golfer, you'll probably be pissed off and annoyed. We want to have people come out and network and have fun and raise money for a good cause. That is the most important thing. I think we've announced a winner once because it's not about that. The real winners are the combat wounded veterans that we get to give back to. So that is September 25th. We are still looking for some sponsors and some golfers to come out and play, but spots are filling up. So if that's something you want to do, come out, join us, be part of the fun. And that's the stuff going on. Now, usually on the Manufacturing Alliance podcast, we talk to American companies. But today we're doing something a little bit different. We're going North America, not just the USA, but North America as a whole. And so I'm going to bring in our friend Ryan. Ryan is the president at CGS North America. Ryan Weeks, how the heck are you, my friend?
Good, Tony. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Excellent.
This seems like it's taken way too long to do, since I see you at like every conference, every trade show, everything. But here we are.
Yeah. No, we definitely have seen each other a few times over the past few years or so. So
yeah,
looking forward to it. Should be good.
It's going to be a great time, and why not? Two guys who love to jibber jabber and yap about things that matter and sometimes don't matter, and what could possibly go wrong.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. If you are with us, we like to do the show live so that you can chime in. You can ask questions, you can answer questions, you can make your comments. So whether you are on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube or wherever you happen to be watching this, go ahead and if you would, put your name in the chat. Tell us what company you're with. We'll give you a shout out and ask any questions that you might have. So Ryan, for those of us that don't know completely, what is it that CGS North America does?
So we sell and support CAM tool, CAD CAM software in North America. So CAM tool is a CAD CAM software specializing high accuracy 3D machining, primarily for the mold and die market is kind of where our niche is and what we kind of specialize in.
Okay.
That's our main business. We also have a quick quote mold quoting software that kind of helps quickly quote plastic injection molds. So those are the two products we sell out of our office, and we sell and support that all over North America.
So what makes you guys unique in comparison to, say, some competitors that might be out there?
What makes us unique is the way that we calculate the tool path. So we use what's called a surface-based cam calculation.
Okay.
Basically offsets your points directly off the surfaces, which gives you a little bit more accurate tool path. That translates itself into mold and die machining because it becomes a lot more important when you get into 3D surfaces, which obviously mold and die, you have all these three-dimensional surfaces that you need to get cut very accurately, your seal-offs, your parting lines, and all those type of things. So most softwares can handle, your square pockets, round holes, things like that, just drilled holes facing, square blocks is very easy. I don't want to say easy, but there's definitely a trick to machining that stuff accurately. But when you get into the 3D machining, that's what our specialty is. So that's what kind of gives us the edge when it comes to mostly in hard milling is something that we really specialize in. Long length to diameter ratio tooling, very micro machining with very small tooling. Those are the things that you're really going to get the benefits of our surface based cam calculations, where you're going to get a little bit longer tool life and that type of stuff. So that's why we kind of specialize in the mold and die type machining.
Okay. How long have you been in the manufacturing space?
Oh boy, 20 20 years at least now. So
Okay.
I kind of got into it as a summer job when I was in university, working on my business degree, and then I started. My dad actually used to run a machine shop or own a machine shop,
So
mostly
you
doing.
worked with him? You worked with your dad?
Yeah, I worked for him, just kind of starting out, summer job, just running CNC machines, just kind of loading parts on, cleaning up, whatnot. And then very quickly kind of started that took full time, kind of kicked school back to part time for a little bit. And then here I am 20 something years later, just still working away in the industry. So yeah, I got a variety of the machine shop was a good, great experience because we did a lot of mold and die components, slides, lifters, course cavities, that type of stuff. But we also got into some variety of exotic, some production stuff, oil and gas, just a variety of job shop type stuff. So I got a lot of experience with different types of machining there. And then from there I kind of went on to work at a couple of the largest some of the larger mold builders in North America, and kind of got to see it, firsthand, how they process things, the automation and the stuff that they're doing on that level as well. And then, yeah, and then I got into the sales side of it, and then management of, running the software side of things. So that's kind of my background.
Yeah. When you so your dad ran that company? It was his
Yeah,
company?
yeah.
When you were younger, was there ever a part of you that was like, I want to do that?
Yeah, I mean, he'd kind of bought into. He was always involved in different manufacturing companies, so he bought that company only a couple of years before I started working there, but I was
Okay.
always involved in manufacturing. As I was growing up, he was heavily involved in a steel fabrication company where he was kind of doing welding and fixture design and things like that. So I've always been around manufacturing growing up, but the mold and die thing was just kind of basically since I graduated high school is where kind of that side of it came in. But I've always been around manufacturing my entire life. But yeah, it was definitely something that I kind of saw myself doing. I didn't know where it would lead to, but yeah, here we are.
It's interesting, isn't it? I find it very interesting that there's a big section of the population that has no idea. Like
Yeah.
they've never been to a machining facility. They've never been to a manufacturing facility. They have no idea that molds actually even need to be made to do anything.
Yeah, they just think plastic parts just kind of fall out of the sky. You
Yes.
just design it up and there it is. I get so many questions when I tell people what I do, and they're like, well, "What is that? What's a plastic injection mold?" I'm like, "Well, pretty much anything that's made out of plastic comes out of a mold."
Right.
And they're like, "Well, what is that?" And you kind of explain that it's a core and cavity. It's simply these two pieces of steel come together and you inject hot plastic into it. And even then, it's obviously much more complex than that. But that's the basics of it. People just don't realize it. They have no idea how this stuff comes together.
No, they have no idea. They have no idea. We hired a kid. I say kid, he's 20 something years old. But when he came in, he knew a little bit about plastic injection molds, just because he's a big fan of Lego. and makes some of his own custom minifigs and all kinds of things. And he was like, "How hard is it to make a mold?" And I was like, "It's not easy. Like it's going to cost you a lot of money to make a mold for your little minifigs there." But just seeing the complexity that goes into that is mind-boggling for people, and they have no concept. They have no idea that it's even a career that exists.
Yeah, and it's funny you bring up Lego because they're actually we've had talks with them in the past because they're looking at that high accuracy machining,
Yep.
and because to fit those little blocks together is very difficult to make a mold that fits them that together that accurately and have all these different parts go together. So something as simple as a toy is actually very complex when it comes to the machining and the actual fitting this stuff together. So yeah, no, it's such a crazy industry, and there's so many different facets of it, so many different areas that nobody understands. And I've spent 15, 20 minutes talking to someone who knows nothing about it, and they're still like, I don't get it. I'm like,
No, it's so much to get that. For us, we're fortunate. So like, if you ever go to Brookfield Zoo or, it's mostly they have it at Brookfield Zoo. They have all these mold-o-matics. Do you ever see the mold-o-matics? So they're these machines that they're molding machines. They're basically like mini molding presses to make wax animals.
Yeah.
And most people in the Chicagoland area have bought one of those wax animals at some point.
Yeah.
And so we've got a point of, similarity where I can say, have you ever gotten the wax gorilla? That's a mold. Now, everything out of plastic comes out of something like that. And people have to make those things.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's crazy. Yeah. It doesn't just, like, to your point, it doesn't just exist.
Yeah, no, I mean, with 3D printing, people are starting to kind of see, but that's a whole different. I mean, the mold making side is obviously more for production, right? When you're talking thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of parts, that's where the mold making side of it comes in. But people are kind of starting to understand it with the 3D printing. But I mean, that's a whole different aspect of it too, right?
Yeah.
That's a completely different way to come up with these plastic parts. But it's again a whole different spin off of the mold making side of it. But yeah, no, it's such a developing and always changing industry. There's so much new technology, even 3D printing. People are using that to make slides and lifters and things like that, and with conformal cooling and all these other things. So even the 3D printing's kind of injected itself into the mold making.
Yep. And it's a great partnership between traditional mold making and additive and 3D printing. It's an amazing partnership where you can do prototypes to make sure things work. And then you make your 1 or 2, 10 pieces. And then when you're ready to go to mass production, you build a mold for it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you guys, let me try that again. Does your software work with additive as well?
We have some kernels we're working on currently in development that we're not quite there yet because we're trying to do the additive and subtractive where you're basically you build it up and then you got to machine it, because the issue with the additive stuff, it isn't quite accurate enough. So basically you got the machines that they effectively weld it up. I mean, the steel side of it anyways, they weld it up and then you machine it. And so you go up a little bit and then machine it down and make sure that it's accurate, then up and then down and then up and then down, and then just kind of build your way to something that fits within the tolerances that are needed. So we are starting to play with it in the development side, but we don't have anything that's quite released yet, but hopefully coming soon.
Okay. That's good. That's good to know. I mean, it's one of those things where you have to keep advancing and growing and offering another solution to people that are in need of those things.
Yeah, I mean, that's always been my philosophy. The day that you think that you know everything, it's probably time to retire, because there's always new stuff coming out, a new technology, a new cutter, a new software, a new machine, a new whatever. So if you like, I mean, the thing that drives me nuts the most is when I talk to someone who's like, "Oh, we've been doing it for 30 years this way. Why would you change it now?" And it's like, well, because things change. I mean, there's new technologies out there. I mean, people used to drive horse and buggies everywhere, but nowadays cars go a lot faster. So, I mean, you can keep driving your horse and buggy if you want, but there's people that are driving Ferraris out there that'll go quite a bit faster than your horse and buggy.
Yeah. The only thing that doesn't work for is sushi. People still want to use chopsticks. It's not faster. It's not easier. Forks were made for a reason. I think it's okay to just stab a fish and eat it. That's the only,
Which
it's the
is
only
fair.
part that
I don't
slows
mind.
down.
I mean, I work for a Japanese company, so I'm pretty familiar with chopsticks and how to use them. My wife likes sushi, so I mean, I'm familiar with them. But it is nice to pick what you want. But the fork is definitely a little faster.
Yeah, it's a better technology, in my
Yeah,
opinion. A fork is a better technology than chopsticks.
yeah,
Um, so when you're looking at the software, we're talking about innovation, right? And how things continue to change and progress. Uh, Alliance started as a polishing company, a
yeah,
mold polishing and finishing company. And my father will talk about how when he started the company 46, 47 years ago, um, the finishes were nowhere near as good as they are today. Where you would have, I remember my favorite thing that he ever did was when Empire Strikes Back came out, and it was the Star Wars Darth Vader figure holder thing, and it was Darth
yeah,
Vader's head. And you opened it up and all the figures went inside there. And we actually polished the mold for that. It is my favorite thing that he's ever done.
yeah,
Um, and what he says is like, they were basically sculpting some of those details in, because at that point the machining software wasn't good enough. You had to go in and disk in details and
yeah.
just kind of fudge some stuff where it didn't exist before. And it was more about being a steel sculptor than it was just a sander, right? And not just a sander. It's still really, really critical and really, really important. And we have a good team that does that. But it seems like every year the machining finishes get better and better and better, which is good for us on one side because it takes away some of the time that it takes to polish things, and you can get things faster and done better and more accurately. Um, but those things are always changing and always improving. Is that some of the stuff that you're seeing as well?
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually one with our niche being the high accuracy machining. That's one of the things that we kind of do a lot of work with is working with those high end machine tool builders and the new types of tooling that are coming out. To you can machine we have multiple parts that we have on display or in our office, whatnot, they look like a mirror coming right off the machine. And I mean, some of that is the software, but a lot of it is the machines, the tooling. It's a whole process to get to that level of machining, and they have these new PCD type tools that are. I mean, if you're familiar with cutting tools, traditionally they had a cutting flute on them, and you'd be a two flute, four flute, whatever. But these new PCD tools it's effectively just brazed diamond, tiny little pieces of
Mm-hmm.
diamond on a solid carbide ball.
Yep.
It's effectively a grinding wheel on the end of a piece of carbide.
Yep.
So it's allowing you to go take a 3D form surface and actually effectively polish it on the machine. Now, I mean, it seems easy when you explain it like that, but there's a lot more to it, and that's what we kind of specialize in. I mean, part of it is the surface calculation, but a bit much larger part of it is the process and understanding and capturing a process that is repeatable, and that's where the software side of it is. And I mean, in CamTool, we use a template, and it's kind of if you run the same tool, the same holder, and the same machine on the same steel, you can figure out, okay, that's going to come out plus 2/10. Because when you get into this PCD tooling, if it hits any more than a tenth, it's going to chip that tool. And I mean, it's not going to break, but you're not going to get that finish. And some of these programs run for 24 hours to kind of
Yep.
to do a bigger surface. And if you come back and go, oh, it didn't give me that finish, well, now you just wasted an entire day, right? So it's very critical to capture that process into a machining template so that it becomes repeatable. And the customers that are doing this, I mean, it's not a fast process on the machine, but I think it's a lot faster than giving some guy a piece of sandpaper effectively and say rub this steel until it comes out like a mirror. At least you can do it on a machine. It's unattended, but you have to have that process. And if you don't get that process down, and you try and cut corners, or you just you're trying to do it as fast as possible, you're just not going to get there, right? And you're starting to see some guys, mostly it's really applicable in the lens manufacturing, like lighting molds, headlights, taillights, and things like that, because they have reflectivity standards. When the light goes through there, they have to go in a certain direction. So it makes it very difficult or impossible to polish that. So it needs to have that uniform finish you're only going to get coming off a machine. So that's the customers. And then in the medical device manufacturing world as well, when it just gets too small, you can't polish it. Those are the two areas that we're really seeing customers kind of focus on trying to eliminate polishing or just, get it as minimal as possible because it's just not feasible.
Yeah. And that makes sense because, I mean, I'll be honest, back in the day, we used to do a lot of headlight molds and tail light molds, and just not seeing it as much anymore.
Yeah, I mean, one of the shops that I worked at before I came to Cam Tool was, they were building headlight and taillight molds and all that stuff, and it just the standards are just ever evolving, right? So as new technology comes out, there's new ways to make these molds. Well, then there's they got all these regulations that get put in place, so it's changing the way that you make these things because of the combination of the technology and then the standards that are involved in the industry.
So you're talking about, the process of mold making changing. You've been doing this for 20 plus years, right?
Yeah.
What are the changes that you've seen? Like, compare the current state of mold making to, where you first entered into the industry and the things that you've seen change along the way.
Well, a lot of it is just what we just talked about, right? You're trying to utilize the machines to do more, right? Skilled labor is always an issue, right? Since I got into the industry, skilled labor has always
Yeah.
been an issue, and the more you go on, the less kids want to get into this. So you're finding a way to do more with less people, and usually that is utilizing machines. So whether it be, I mean, machines that have pallet changers on them, so they automatically can change. You just get one guy to kind of load up a bunch of pallet changers, and those machines are running throughout the night. So you don't have to, and then you're just reducing that spotting and polishing time you have to do later. If you can machine things more accurately, you don't have to grind them and do all this work to kind of put them together. You're basically just putting together a puzzle and you screw it together.
Yeah.
Right. But it's about understanding the process and getting those repeatable results coming off your machine so that the physical work is mostly done for you. Like, I remember seeing jobs back in the day and guys come out with huge grinders and they start grinding clearance areas. And you're like, well, why are you not cutting that to negative now? Like, why are you even touching clearance? Unless there's a mistake or something gets missed, that should be cut away where you're not even touching that. It shouldn't even be that close that you even have to do that. We have some customers that are they got the process so figured out that they can actually cut their seal off to just enough negative. Like, for example, if your material flashes at 1 thou, they're able to cut it so accurately that they can cut it to negative half thou, and it effectively creates a natural vent because they're not actually contacting, and your part's going to last longer because now you're contacting on the locks as opposed to the seal off, and so you're going to build a tool that lasts longer and functions better because you have a natural vent all around the part. So, but again, it comes down to capturing that process, right? And that's where the software comes in. But it's not just the software, right? Like, I've seen guys that go spend $1 million on this high-end machine tool, but then they want to go pull a tray of holders out that they've been kicking around and collecting dust for 3 years, and they're going to throw it in this $1 million machine. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, there's more to it. Like, the tools need to be balanced, and there's just so much more that goes to it. So you need the machine, you need the tooling, you need the holders, software, all of it kind of comes together to make sure that you can do this process. And the goal of the process is to eliminate human interaction, right? The less people that have to touch it, the better, because people are, especially good people, are getting harder and harder to find.
Yep. And it is a challenge to continue to find good people to do the work and want to do that kind of a work, kind of a job. We've got 10 polishers in our facility. And I'll be honest, it's difficult sometimes to keep them all busy. But at the same point, it's still a very necessary profession and something that we pride ourselves in the work that we do because, are we as good as a machine? Gosh, that's hard to say. But the guys are really, really good. And there is an artistry to it that I think will never go away as long as people continue to do it. But you do want the repeatability. When you're working on, 64 cores and cavities, every single one of them has to be the same.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where you're seeing people kind of pushing to the software. I mean, it's the software, the tooling, the process, the whole, the whole way that they're producing these things, right? And the machines are huge in this part, right? You're getting, different, you're getting linear motor machines that are faster and more accurate than they were before, allowing you to kind of keep these consistent feed rates that are needed. they're holding tolerances that weren't possible 10, 15 years
Right.
ago, right? So
Right.
the machines are the big thing, and the spindles are, to do a lot of this high end tooling, especially the small stuff, you need really high RPM spindles, right? So traditionally machines had 10, 15, 20,000 maybe, but now you're seeing machines come out with 50, 60, 70,000. And then you can add an air spindle to that, or, a speeder head that'll, put it up around the 90, 100,000, 110,000 range, right? So there's all these different things that are allowing, just giving you more capabilities on the machine.
Yeah. And all of that, and you have to stay up with the current changes. You can't fall behind.
Well, that's the thing. If you're not paying attention to what's going on, sure, you can get by for 5 years, maybe even 10 years, but eventually somebody else, one of your competitors, is going to figure out how to do this. Because, like, the way we talk about it, yeah, it seems easy. Yeah, you just get this process, put it in place, and away you go. But there's a lot more to it than that, right? I have a lot of customers that you're working with the design department to make sure it's designed properly, so that when it goes to manufacturing, a good software should be able to just flow through your process, where if the holes are all captured properly, they just swipe the job, and exactly, the software knows what it is. You don't have to have a programmer go and do all this stuff. So It's about getting everybody on the same page, so that from start to finish, we're all working towards the same goal.
Wouldn't that be great, just in life, like start to finish? If we're all working towards the same goal, that would be amazing by itself.
Absolutely. But I mean, again, easier said than done, right? Like, it's easy to talk about it, when you're sitting back and just saying, oh yeah, you just do that. But like, try getting 10, 15, 20 or hundreds of people all doing everything. Because at the end of the day, the software side of it is a computer. So, I mean, if you search your computer for one thing, but spell one character wrong, the search function's great, but if you spell it wrong, it's not going to find it, right?
Yes.
So it's the same thing goes when you're bringing this stuff out of the design department. If it's not set up to go into the CAM system, you got a lot of manual input on the programming side, which then, it isn't consistent because you had to fix this, and you got a person involved who's kind of, does it his way. And that's the biggest thing we see is guys, oh, I've been doing this, I know how to do this, I'll just cut it this way. Well, that wasn't the way that we set up our process and our standard. You're not following that. So now we're not getting the results off the machine that cause issues, down the road.
So when you look at that, right, people saying, I want to do it the way that I want to do it. It's the way I've always done it, kind of a thing. What does that look like for you guys when you're looking at the software, for being able to set up the right templates or standardized processes, so that you can have the automation that you're actually talking about?
So, I mean, the biggest thing that most softwares are going to utilize is it's a tooling database, right? So, like, you used to hear about these programmers that were the best programmer back in the day, and he's the guy that can remember all these numbers, and this tool runs at 7,000 RPM and 20 inches a minute. And I'm like, that's great that you can remember all that stuff, but you know what?
You don't need
Computers
to.
are really, really good at remembering that and just spitting that information out, right? And just being diligent on that database, because that's your intellectual property that's going to separate you guys from everyone else, right? Some of our customers have built these databases that, that's what separates them. If you're cutting P20, H13, whatever it is, they have that process set up where they know if they're going to use this tool and this holder, they know the results they're going to get because they've tested it. And I have some customers that they've actually had to let guys go because the guy just wants to keep changing his own. I know I can run that template. I can run that cutter faster. And the guy, that particular customer said to him, he's like, that's fine. If you think you have a better cutting parameters, we can test it, but we're going to test it on day shift. We're going to mark that program. We're going to say, okay, that program is new. We're going to test it out, and we're going to check the results to what we were doing previously. If it is better, that's the new standard, and we'll implement that across the board. If it isn't, oh well, we try something else. But he would have these guys that would just go, I don't know how to use your tooling database. I'm just going to put these numbers in here. And it's like, well, yeah, that might get you by once or twice, but computers are going to remember that stuff. Why are you not putting it in there? And again, back to the people side of it, have your best guy fill that stuff in. And then you can bring in some guy off the street that just goes, I don't know, I pick a 6 mil ball cutter and it's P20 material. Here's my feeds and speeds. You don't need to remember those thousands of different cutting parameters.
Yeah. And I think to your point that you mentioned earlier on how much things have changed and how much tighter tolerances are and how much more perfect everything needs to be. Back in the day, you could do that, right?
For sure.
Like if each piece was done a little bit different, it doesn't matter. Like they're close, right? Good enough is good enough.
Yeah.
But as things continue to get better, people want those super tight tolerances, those accurate numbers every time, which means you got to have the same numbers every single time. There's no room for fudging.
Yeah, I mean, some of it is driven by industry standards where, like you talked about earlier with, we have 24 different cavities, they all have to be identical. But some of it is just time savings, right?
Yeah.
If you're the mold makers putting these parts together, if you're getting stuff that literally just fits together and everything fits, you don't have to grind anything, you don't have to spot anything, that's just easier, right? It makes the mold maker's job easier too if he doesn't have to machine this stuff. So it's just, it just works as an entire process on how to do all this stuff.
And standardization is not a dirty word. It's a great
No.
thing. I mean, one of the things that we built into our laser welders on purpose was the exact frequency and power output and the pulse that you need to have based on the material that you're using and the size wire, so that you don't have to guess what's going to give you the best results. Put all that in ahead of time, because that's not going to change.
Exactly. And that's what our the machining templates in the database is set up to do, giving you those consistent results where if you set your process up properly, you know what the result is going to be. But when some guy says, I want to run this, I'm going to change this up a little bit. Well, now all of a sudden it came out a couple tenths plus. Well, now it doesn't fit into that pocket. Now,
Right.
There's a little bit of extra work here. And it doesn't seem like much, but when you're trying to mass produce this stuff and stay competitive on a global market, you got to have all these little things right, and capturing that across your entire organization, making sure everybody's on the same page is difficult. I mean, that's, I think, the hard part. I go talk to customers all the time who are very open. Some of them back in the day were like, oh no, this is our secret, we can't tell anyone. And then now I talk to people, the same guy now, and he's like, I don't care, man. People can't it's the people. It's the people behind it. I can tell you what software I use. I can tell you what tools, what machines, but until you get everyone to buy into that process,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. You can have all the right equipment, but if you don't know how to use it, it makes no difference.
Yep. And I think that's a great point. So, I mean, you can have the high accuracy machining. You can have the latest CAD CAM software. You can have the right machine tools. You can have the right cutting tools. You can have the right controls. You can have all those things. But if you don't have the buy-in, you're screwed.
That was the biggest thing that I saw when I was working at the mold shop, is the disconnect from engineering and manufacturing.
Okay.
The engineers just design things up, and sometimes you get it on the floor and you're like, how do you want me to machine this?
Yeah.
There's just no way. It's going to take me forever to do that. And you look at it and you're like, that's clearance. Why are we designing it like that, right? Because the engineers that are designing it don't know how to manufacture, and the guys that are manufacturing don't know what's needed for design. So if you could get them on the same page where they just say, hey man, when you put that sharp corner down that vertical wall, that took me forever to machine that. If you could have just put a little bit more radius on there, put a little bit more draft on there, that would make things way easier and save me a ton of time on the machining side. And you are starting to see that, where some of these larger companies are starting to kind of have feasibility studies with they're working more with the customers to be like, hey,
Yep.
If we change this a little bit, how much easier would that be? Is that going to save you some time? Because if we can do that, then obviously that cost will get kicked back to us. But they got to coordinate that with everyone, especially in the automotive world. They got to coordinate with all these other parts that are coming together, right? So if you get more manufacturing people involved in the design process, overall, again, everybody's going to be buying in. You're going to have a better process.
You think some of that is because, I mean, back in the day, right? The engineers, they used to start out as mold builders, yeah, and so maybe they had I'm not saying a better grasp, but if you go directly into engineering, you may not understand all the nuances of what the different parts of the mold do.
The best designers that we used to have were the ones that started on the floor and that actually knew why you should put a radius in that corner, or the ones, or why you should color something properly, right?
Sure.
If you color and label everything properly, you can literally drop it into your CAD CAM system. It should be able to apply a template to the majority of your job. The problem is, what we run into with most customers is you get the file in and it's like, well, it's all one color, nothing's labeled, I don't even know what that hole is. I gotta go ask the guy, and he's gonna tell me, okay, that's a tapped hole and this is a reamed hole. Well, that's great if you're a 20-year mold maker, you can figure all that stuff out. But try giving that to some guy who just came out of high school or college, who has no idea what any of this stuff is, and say, okay, you go and machine that. Well, if it's all labeled and say blue is this, red is that, then it's easy, right? Like that the transfer of information, and again, getting everyone on the same page. The way that I see it, I mean, the problem starts at the top. It has to be pushed from the top down, and everybody in the mold making industry wants to be like, oh, the next guy will fix it. Oh, this guy will figure that out. And it's like, well, no, you're pushing that down. And eventually, it ends up on the guy that just got out of high school, and he's like, well, why didn't he know that? And it's like, well, he's been working here for 2 months. How would you expect him to know that?
Right.
Right? Like, well, yeah, why did he deburr that hole, or why did he break that edge? And it needs to be called out at the higher level and pushed down instead of bottom up.
Yeah. And how do you expect the guy to know it? I mean, it's impossible.
It doesn't.
Right? It's impossible to know.
Yeah. He has no way to know that, right? And like, I see it with training guys through my career and being in management and things like that. As you get more experience, you kind of forget some of the things that you had to learn when you were just getting into it, and you just take it for granted. So you forget to show those people that little tidbit of knowledge, and you just take it for granted that they already know it. Well, if you didn't tell them that, that you can't deburr that hole, or that edge needs to stay sharp, or don't drop an eye bolt on that, parting line face, how would they know, right? They don't know what this thing does. To them, it's just some piece of steel that there's no difference in any of that stuff. You have to explain these little things that you might know as even a 1-year experienced mold maker, but you don't know that two weeks out of school. So, and people forget to tell that stuff. And that's where the training comes into all these, the people in the industry. And again, getting everyone on the same page.
Yeah. Our good friend, Larry Patton, formerly of Dramco, now retired. He chimed in. He said, I always thought the best way to figure out speed and feeds was by listening to the sound.
Of course. But once you figure out that feed and speed, save it. Like that, when I'm talking about these templates, the templates are like, you're not just guessing, telling your best mold maker to do it. You test it on the machine and you figure out what that perfect speed and feed is. You hear it. Again, you do this from machine to machine. So you go and you listen to the machine, you get that perfect feed and speed and say, okay, that's exactly what it is. Save it. And then you never think about it again, because you've tested it out. You figured out what runs. And it's not just a guess. Like you're testing it, and like, okay, maybe if we run it 5% faster or 5% slower, it comes in exactly where I wanted it. And then you save that, and then save that off in your tooling database, and away you go from there.
Yep. And I think the key is use that, right? Use your experience, use the sound of the machine, use all those things. And then what you said at the end was really important. Save that. So the next guy doesn't have to come in and try and figure all that out over again, and then do the experimental phase and trying to figure out what that looks like. He already knows this is what it's supposed to be. And if something needs to change, then change.
Exactly. And back to what I talked about with the customer who has their templates, right? They've already done the listening to the machine. They've heard, and they've got that spindle exactly where they want it. So why are you doing that every time you run the same tool?
Yeah.
Like the first time, maybe the second time you want to confirm that it's right. Absolutely. But once you say, okay, that's perfect, save it. And you never think about it again. I remember talking to a customer, or actually, he worked for me for a little bit. And before he got into Cam Tool, he went to his shop and he's like, man, this guy does all this high-end work. And I went into his shop and I asked him what he runs his cutter at. And he's like, I don't even know. And he went in and he checked his database. He's like, how the hell is this guy doing this type of work? And he doesn't even know what this cutter runs at. So he ended up buying Cam Tool. He became a customer. A couple of years later, somebody came into his shop and he's like, well, what do you run that at? And he's like, oh shit, I don't even know. And it's just like phone numbers, right? When I was growing up, you had to remember everyone's phone number. Yep. How many phone numbers do you know by heart now?
Mine.
That's it.
Because
you have to explain it to people.
That's it.
Yeah. But why do you need to remember this? Computers are very good at remembering numbers and feeds and speeds and all that stuff. So figure it out once, and then just apply it for the rest of the time that you run that machine. Now, that being said, every time you get a new machine with a new spindle, new tooling, whatever, you have to go through that process again. So you do need one of those experienced mold makers or experienced machinists, whatever it may be, to do that testing the first time you're setting it up. You're going to be close to what the last machine is, but maybe you got 5,000 more RPM. Well, you want to take advantage of that. Maybe the controller can't handle the same points the way the other machines can. So you got to kind of scale that back. So every time you get a new machine, you test out all these templates again, and you kind of tweak that process. But then once it's done the first time, save it, and that becomes the standard on that machine.
Yep. You're right. And I think the analogy to a phone number is perfect, right? Because initially you have to go through the effort of getting somebody's phone number. You got to go through the rigmarole. You got to go and you got to introduce yourself to them. You got to get the contact. You got to talk to them. You got to, God forbid, you got to listen to them. And you have to do all that stuff. And then they give you their number and you put it in your phone. You put it in your phone so that you never have to ask them for it again. And you give it a name and you give it a place that's really easy to get to, so that the next time you need to call that up, you don't have to go, oh, who was that guy? What there were the 7 numbers. I can remember some of them. You don't have to worry about any of that, but you have to do the initial work.
Yeah. And that's where people, they want it to work out of the box, right? They're like, oh, just give me the software and it'll fix everything. And it's like, well, no, you still have to set it up. If you don't want to take the time to set it up, it's not going to work the way that you saw it in the demo. Right. And everybody just wants it to work that way out of the box. Well, everybody's got their own process. They want to run things their own way. They want to design things their own way, which is fine. But you have to incorporate that into your process. And that's why it becomes your intellectual property, because you've saved it, you've created it, you've taken the time to develop all this stuff. Well, now you own it. And that's why everybody needs to know, when I talk about the templates, right? How the design department design stuff is set up, how your CAM system is going to be able to read it in. And every CAM system works a little bit differently. They can usually all kind of do the same idea. Some maybe a little bit better than others, but the idea, the process is still the same. But some uses colors, some use layers, some put little features on it. However that is between your design system and your CAM system, you have to marry those two together. And that's up to you to manage your own process to make sure that they work together hand in hand.
Yeah. And all of it becomes even more important, right? Like, it's all important to increase efficiency. It's all important to have better consistency from part to part.
Absolutely.
But it all becomes even more exponentially important when you realize that we do have a skilled labor shortage and a lack of knowledge transfer.
And that's what's pushing people to spend the time on this, right? Because for years, people would just let the guy go, oh, I know how to run this. Okay, keep going, buddy. That's the only option we have right now. But at some point, you're sitting there going, like, when that guy retires,
we're in trouble.
His information just walked out the door with him, right?
Yep.
If you can get that guy to go listen to every machine and go from machine to machine, like if I talk to a new customer about implementing our software, or any software for that matter, go through one machine at a time. There's so much that goes on. I get customers that call me all the time. Just give me the post that works for everything. And we sit down and go through, how do you want that post to run that machine? Do you want to laser the tool every time? Do you want to just run it on your own? Do you want a breakage check at the end? How there's now with the machines, there's all these accuracy codes and tolerance settings and smoothing settings that go on with handling the points and things like that. How do you want to run that? Are your average jobs 2 inches by 2 inches, or are they 6 feet by 7 feet? There's a big difference between those two types of jobs, and tweaking your machine to correspond to what the CAM system's trying to do is important, right? And again, you do it once, you go from machine to machine, you set up that machine, you get everything set up exactly the way you want it. Yes, it takes more time, and you're not going to be up and running day one that machine hits the floor. But by the end of year one, that machine is running so much more efficiently. You have saved any time that you wasted setting all that stuff up, because you took the time to set it up properly. You're getting consistent results off there. There's less chances of crashes because you're not running stupid feeds and speeds. There's all these little tips and tricks that you've now built into your process that you don't even think about anymore. You're turning on high accuracy settings and things like that for your finishing toolpaths that let your roughing toolpaths run faster because they're not turned on. You've tweaked all of those little settings and thought about every little detail and built that into your process. So that's just what people need to be doing, but they don't want to do the work. They just want to just say, oh, this software should do that. And it's like, well, how do I know what machine you're running? How do I know what tooling you're running, right? It changes, and it all makes a difference.
And, the machine will do it, right? The software will do it, but you got to give it some help.
Well, you have to set it up, right? And that brings me to AI, right? Everybody thinks that AI is going to do this for you, right? And maybe one day it will. But I've looked at multiple other softwares that are saying, "Oh, we're AI," or "we're an AI add-in for Mastercam," or whatever it is. And all they're doing is basically applying a template the same way that we have for decades in CamTool, right? And it works great. Don't get me wrong. As long as you set every color perfectly and everything is layered exactly the way that it is. But if you do one thing wrong, well, then your process breaks. And maybe it doesn't crash the machine, but it doesn't cut. It didn't finish this pocket to the right depth, or this is a little bit oversized. Well, now if it got off the machine, now you got to go back and rework it. Now it's not working the way that you hoped it would.
Sure.
Right. And that's where I talk about getting everyone on the same page.
Sure.
So,
but I think you're right. A lot of people think that AI is the great equalizer and the thing that's going to fix the lack of skilled labor and the lack of I would call it, generational knowledge and wisdom.
Hopefully, I mean, I use AI quite a bit. The issue
Yeah.
that I have with AI, like I use it to kind of just proofread almost every email I send.
Yep.
But I'll tell you right now, I will never send an email without reading it first, because probably 1 out of 10, it'll get confused who I am in the conversation, or it'll just come up with some obscure topic, which for an email, okay, no problem, I fix it. But if that's your CNC program, if you had a program that crashed 1 out of 10 programs, I don't think he'd be working for you very long.
No.
He would be gone very quickly. So
Yeah.
like it just, when it goes bad real fast.
AI is good for a lot of things.
It's amazing in a lot of things.
But it's like anything else. It's a tool. It's not just the solution. It's a tool for a better solution.
Absolutely. And it, like, if you look at the prompts you're putting into AI, sometimes you can tell why it went wrong. It mistook what you were trying to tell it, and it thought you wanted something completely different. But if you don't check it, that's on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a great tool, but if you're not using it properly, it can burn you.
I was working, I mean, it's not the same thing, but it's the same idea. I was working on a podcast that Christina Fuges and I did, and she sent me a picture, and in the picture, her hand was kind of cut off. So it was like, you could see like, let's see, like it was like this, right? Like 4 fingers.
Yeah.
And in the picture, and I wanted it to extend it a little bit, which it should be able to do.
Yeah.
And so I told it what I wanted it to do, and it spit the picture back out, and I took it, I brought it into the piece that I was doing, the thumbnail I was doing, and I kept looking at it, and I was like, what is wrong with this? There's something wrong, and I can't, like, it wasn't clicking right away. She only had 4 fingers. Like, it made her hand a little bit wider, so it was like the right size, but it only had 4 fingers. And I was like, how? Like, come on. Like, and that's what you're talking about, right? Like, it's an obvious thing that you should see. It's almost perfect. It looked, I mean, the hand was completed perfect. It was just missing a finger.
Yeah.
And
you don't need all 5 fingers anyway.
No. And if I mean, maybe that's like a bad mold maker. They're just missing a digit.
Yeah.
But if you don't pay attention to those things and you just say, like, I used AI, it's going to be perfect. It's not going to be.
No. And I mean, we're using AI in our software. We're just kind of, but we're not using it to kind of automate yet. I mean, I'm hoping that we get there soon enough, but we're just using it to learn cutting parameters from, let's say you've set up your template and I'll get all your cutting parameters set up for P20. Well, now you're going to cut some H13 or some stainless or something else. So it'll help you learn, well, if you were this in P20, it should probably be this in H13 or whatever. So, I mean, it's a different way because it's actually learning what's going on as opposed to just, guessing at it, I guess. Right. But you're not, everybody just dreams that it's just you just put the model in and then boom, away you go. It comes out, spits out the programs, and you just go hit start, and then it's done and it comes out with the finished part. And it just,
wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
I mean,
at the rate that AI is going, it's probably coming soon. When is it? 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? Who knows? But I mean, it's coming because like it's advancing so fast, it's scary. But it's just in the mold making industry, mistakes are too costly that you just can't have that 1 out of 10, or even it's 1 out of 100. Even if you crash 1 out of 100 programs you made, you'd still be fired.
Yep.
So it's getting better, but it's not there yet.
Yep. It's a very, I'm going to be honest, I don't understand a lot of it. I don't have to. We've got teams that do that. I know the softwares that I use. I used a lot of Adobe software, and it's all the same kind of stuff.
Yeah.
When you look at having to know the software, having to know the stuff that you're putting in, the artwork you're putting in, the files that you're putting in, the designs that you're putting in, you got to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
There's no escaping the ability to know what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, AI might get there with the, you can still check the Adobe stuff. The issue with we have in the machining side is there's no way for AI yet, anyways, to actually check that what they drew up in your tool
Mm,
in the software matches what's actually in the machine.
sure.
So, like, you can make the best program and AI can generate all of it, but if some guy goes and loads the wrong tool, well, you know what? I don't think it's going to work.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, that's the other issue with it, right? Is, I mean, if it's just the software alone, it can be all checked internally, but you still have a physical machine that needs to correspond to exactly what AI put in there.
It's a great point. And so let me ask you this. Uh, people are listening to this and they're going, how do I know if I'm ready to take that next step? If I'm ready to, call Ryan and jump into um, yeah, updating my software, updating my equipment. What are the steps that they should take or the things that they should look for?
And the biggest thing is can you control your design department to kind of standardize what's coming into the CAM system?
Okay.
That's what I mean, and not just my software. Most other softwares are the same way. You have to tell the software what to do, and that's how these templates are all working. So, are you at a point where you have the flexibility, and there is going to be some time lost over that transition, right? As you start to change design, like change your design standards to make sure that it goes into your CAM system. Are you set up where all your designs are set up to automatically go into your system that's already set up? Because every CAM system works a little bit differently. So you got to be ready to make that change and have the time, right? Like the constant problem I run into, I'm trying to sell someone software is when they're slow, they have the time, but they don't have the money. When they're
Mm,
busy, they have the money, but they don't have the time. So you have to be like, okay, which one is it? You can't wait because when you're busy, you don't have time because let's face it, you don't just plug in a new software and tomorrow you're up and running this maximum
no,
efficiency we're
no,
talking about,
no.
right? Going through each machine is going to take a couple weeks or a couple months to get it dialed in. And then you go on to the next one, you build post processors, go through all that stuff, set up templates. There's time involved in all that, right? And you can't do it when you have a hot job that's on that machine that you need it off tomorrow because your first couple jobs as you're testing all this stuff is going to take longer. Like you have to spend that time to test. So when you have that time, that's that's the right time to look into new software, and you have the control over the whole process to kind of bring that all in house and make sure that it fits together properly. So the problem is usually that's when you're slow, but when you're slow, you don't want to spend money. So
Yeah. 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 What should somebody look at first, equipment or software? Or is it hand in hand?
well, usually they go hand in hand. That's usually where people are looking at more software because if you're adding more equipment, that's usually you need to add another seat. So a lot of times people are like, okay, well, I either buy a new seat of what I currently run or I go look at something new. So especially when people are going from 3 to 5 axis, they're like, okay, yeah, this software is great for 3 axis, but it's just too simple. It's just not going to cut it for 5 axis. So we have a lot of people who reach out at that time. And we don't try and sell you go across the board right away. Like start off with one machine. Let's get it figured out on one machine because once you figure it out once, it's a
Yeah.
lot easier to do it the second time and the third time. So as you take it from one machine to the next machine to the next machine, it becomes that much easier, right? So the second machine will be exponentially easier to set up than the first because you're going to take what you did on the first and just tweak it for your second machine.
Right.
So I would say when you're buying the equipment is usually the time. But I mean, if you're like, there's issues with, there's been a lot of mergers and acquisitions in the software industry where these major corporations are coming and buying up all these softwares.
Yep.
And it's causing issues on the support side. They're not changing the development's hurting. So like if you're in one of those situations, then I mean, anytime's a good time. But you got to make sure that you're prepared to spend the time to set it up properly because it just doesn't work. It's not magic, this magic dust that you put on your machine and everything works properly. Like you got to spend the time to set it up properly or it's not going to give you the results that you were sold.
Yeah. No, I love that. Oh, and it's honest, right? It's like anything else. You have to do the setup side of things. Or it's not going to work. You can buy the fanciest camera in the world. If you don't know what any of the settings mean, the aperture or anything else, it's going to be a giant paperweight. It's going to suck.
Absolutely.
You gotta, there's no getting away from learning what you're supposed to learn. There's no, magic button. Like you said, no fairy dust that's going to make it just happen.
Yeah, I mean, you can reduce it by using your best guy who's done the learning and kind of set it all up for the junior guys. But at the end of the day, as you get a new machine, like somebody has to understand the guts of that software. Like we can't set it all up for you because we're not there to see when something doesn't run right. You need to go back and adjust that template. Like, hold on, why did that cutter break in an hour? The guy who sold me that cutter said that should run for 6 hours. What happened? Why did it break in an hour? Well, now you got to go adjust the process. Something failed in the process. Let's go back and figure out what it is so that next time it happens, you get your full 6 hour cutter life out of it.
Yep.
And one big issue I see is a lot of the shops don't have those metrics in place where you can even track that. Where you're seeing, so like we can tell you all you want, but like if you don't have a way to track it, you're not going to know if you got longer tool life because you just run it for as long as that program runs and you throw it out and get another one. I mean, it's not a cost-effective way to do it, but I see it very often.
Yep. Well, and I think there's some people too that don't even want to deal with processes. You know, they're just going to do it. Each time is going to be something totally different.
Yeah, no, I hear that all the time. It was a lot of it's just, I mean, I call it laziness. I've had customers that have switched away to another software because, well, everybody knows this software. It's just easier. I can train guys. I don't have to train them. They're to come in already trained because they know how to use that software. I'm like, well, that's great, but like, do they know your process and do they know how to use your software to do your process?
Right.
Because that's what I tell people. Like, you set up a process. When you're inside of these 4 walls, this is how we do things. I don't care what you did at the last shop. They might have different machines or different processes or whatever it is. But when you're inside of our 4 walls, this is our process and this is how we do it. Even if you're using the same software and the same machines, two shops can run them completely differently.
Yep. And you're right. It's got to work for the company, not for that individual, because you may go from somewhere else and they did things a certain way and this is the way that we do it now. And that's okay.
It's not, at the end of the day, you can still get the same result by doing things a different way.
Yep.
But if you want the full automation where it just flows through your process from the time that it starts in design and comes out the back end as a fully functional tool, you need to get everybody on that same process. And it can be different from one shop to the other, and you can still get good results.
Yep.
But it's just going to take you longer because you're not going to automate it as well because you're not all on the same page.
Yep. No, I love it. So what else, anything else that we need to cover in this topic?
I don't know. We've talked about quite a bit.
Yeah, we did. We did good.
Yeah, no, it's been going good. Yeah. I mean, for this topic, I mean, I think we've kind of touched on all of it. I mean, I don't know. It could be something else that I think of in 15 minutes, but
you want to answer some stupid questions?
Sure. Why not?
All right.
Here.
That's fun. Let's do that. All right. Yeah. Question number 1. If you could make one rule that everyone had to follow, what would that rule be?
Like, are you talking industry or just like
one rule that everybody has to follow, whether that's at work, whether that's in the world? Yeah.
I mean, just, I mean, it's a long one that's been going back forever, but just treat people how you would want to be treated.
There you go.
Just don't be a dick, basically.
It's amazing that more people don't say that. Like that should just seems like it should be normal.
You would think, but I mean, it's not. Like the saying "common sense is not that common."
No, it's not.
You know, it's just not that common. But you would think, just treat people with respect and don't treat people like you wouldn't want to be treated. But it happens daily,
all the time. All right, question 2: what is one thing that you're superstitious about?
What I'm superstitious about. I don't really know. I don't really.
You don't have a thing. Like I tell people, like if you think if you think it might be a doppelganger, I always put my right sock on first, and then my left sock, and then my right shoe, and then my left shoe. I can't go out of order.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have anything that I'm.
You got nothing. You're normal. Wow, good for you.
I guess. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's something somewhere, but nothing's coming to mind right now.
All right. It's good. Good for you, man. It's got to be very freeing. It's so annoying. You accidentally pick up your left shoe and have to put it back down.
Yeah, I can see that. It's not very efficient. But that's your process.
That is my process. Yeah.
That's your process.
It started when I played hockey because it was always the right skate. I just I got into that habit, and then it bled over to everything else.
Interesting. Yeah. I can't even think of I'd have to go through and do it 3 or 4 times and figure out which skate I put on first.
All right. Question 3. If you swapped genders for the day, how would you spend your time?
I am not sure. The I don't even know. I can't think of what I would be doing, especially if we got to keep it PG.
I mean, you could say whatever you want. It's fine. It's Larry listening right now. So, hey,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would go. I don't know. Do something that you can't do as a guy. I guess I don't know. I don't know what that is anymore. But
whenever I have this conversation with people, I think I would go do sales.
yeah, I mean,
Because-
that's a good one because I feel like you would get a lot more callbacks than you do. I mean, than I do currently,
Yeah. There's just,
especially in our industry.
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's a guy, he used to work for us in California and, we had him up for the Christmas party and he said, hey, when I'm in town, can I spend some time with Michelle and learn like some of her strategies on sales and getting people to call her back and whatever? I was like, you can spend as much time with Michelle as you want, but you don't have the skills that Michelle has. And there's no amount of training that's going to help you in Michelle's areas. Michelle just gets to be Michelle.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's just it's different. There's certain things that people are going to respond better if you're male or female or whatever it is, and yeah, sales I think would definitely give you an advantage, especially in our industry. That just being a female is going to give you a little advantage, especially for getting callbacks.
Yeah. So there you go. Now, if anybody ever asks you that question again, you have an answer.
I would try and do sales. I like it.
Number 4, if animals could talk, what would be the rudest and why?
Probably a cat.
A cat. You're not going to believe this. Cat is the number 1 answer by far.
I can imagine. I mean, I'm not a huge cat person, so that might be why I gave that answer. But they just seem like they'd be rude. I don't know.
Yeah.
Kind of stuck up and bitchy. I don't know.
Yeah. At least dogs. I don't have a dog or a cat. We are a non-pet house because, I just don't want to deal with it. But at least dogs go to the bathroom outside. Cats just like in the middle of your house, just take a dump and they don't care.
Yeah, no, I mean that's I mean I've had dogs. I don't have a dog currently, but I used to have dogs growing up, and dogs I think are great, and they're just more affectionate, and they're just I mean, yeah, I don't know. That's I would think the cat would be the rude one.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know why anybody has them as pets. I think they're terrible.
Well, yeah, they don't even want to be around you. At least dogs.
No.
As soon as you get home, they're happy to see you. They just run right over to you. But a cat, it's just like, you're home now. I got to leave the couch and go hide under the couch or somewhere you can't find me. So.
I agree. See, people, if you're listening, you shouldn't have cats. That's what it all boils down to. Last question. How many kindergarten kids could you take in a fight before you were outnumbered?
Kindergarten kids. I don't know.
I mean, you're a pretty big guy.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I used to do some kickboxing and MMA back in the day, so I feel like I could take a good number of them, but I don't know. Are they actively trying to hurt me, or are they just kind of being kindergarten kids running around?
No, I think they're coming at you. It's kind of like maybe like an army of little children, kindergarten kids they're coming at you.
Do they have any weapons, or are they just their hands?
I think just their hands, probably.
Okay, I mean, I don't know, maybe 50. I think I could get a lot of them as soon as they got it close. I don't know. It depends how fast they're coming at me, I guess. I don't know. Let's say 50.
Yeah. I think it could be a pretty high number too. The problem becomes when they grab your feet. Like if a couple of those little suckers grab your ankles and they get on your legs, then they start to kind of teeter you. And once you go down, I think it might be.
That's when they get you. But you got to figure you can get at least 10 or 20 of them before they get that close, right? Get those first couple, but who knows? I don't know.
And you can pick one up by the ankles and use it as a bat. I mean, there's all kinds of things that you can do.
Yeah,
when
you can
they're
find a
coming
small one and use them and just start spinning them around. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Never thought about this question before either, though. So.
It's like when people were like, could 100 people take a gorilla? Like in a fist fight. But somebody's always got to be number one, right? Like if you're number 100, that's not so bad because the gorilla is going to be tired. Maybe he's already held down. You just got to deliver the final blow. But somebody's got to be number one.
Yeah. Nobody wants to be number one.
No, that sucks. That is a bad thing. All right, Ryan, where can people see you? Where are you going to be out and about next?
We'll be at IMTS for the full week, so I'll be there the full week. Most of my team will be there most of the week, but I got a couple guys heading home Thursday night. So IMTS, Jimtov, I'll be at Jimtov in Japan the end of October. I believe I'll be at MD&M Midwest in Minneapolis right after Jimtov.
Okay.
And then check me out. LinkedIn usually is where I'm most active. Facebook is active, but not as active.
Yep.
And then our website, just shoot me an email at if you go to www.camtool.com, you can reach out to us there, and that'll get to me, and we can set up a time to talk about your process and see if there's anything we can do to help you.
Yeah, no, I love all that. How are you seeing the industry in Canada and the US right now as far as mold builds? Because there's a lot of I think there's a lot of hesitation from some people, depending on who you're talking to. We got a bunch of shops in Michigan closed recently. There's always mergers that we're hearing about. When you look at the industry and what you see, because you're talking to people all the time, how do you see the market right now?
So it seems like it's picking up a little bit from where it was 6 months to a year ago. I think it's especially, I mean, most of the mold making industry in Canada is based out of Windsor, which is heavily automotive. And I think the pickup you're seeing is just basically, I mean, you see this, the automotive industry always goes in cycles. What we've been dealing with for the last year or two has just been hesitancy. Nobody wants to invest in Canada right now because nobody knows what's happening with all the tariffs and everything that's going on. So for a long time, that was kind of, you were seeing it. Shops were closing up in Windsor, Ontario, just because people have to make a decision. They're going to, which side of the border are they going to invest on? Because if these tariffs come into place, it could be bad depending on which way it goes. I mean, at the end of the day, uncertainty is bad for business, right? So now what I think you're seeing is at some point people have said, okay, you know what? We have these model years coming out. We have to get these molds made. We've waited as long as we possibly can. It's going to go to Canada, the States. So even some shops in Canada are starting to get busy in the last couple of months. But long term, as far as what's going on, I mean, who knows what's happening? It's such a fluid situation that it's tough to say long term. But I definitely seeing that things are definitely busier on the U.S. side of things. I mean, most of our business is in the U.S. So I see a lot more of what's going on in the U.S. But I mean, I have more friends and people that I know from the industry in Canada that I'm talking to as well. And it also depends. A lot of the shops in Windsor are bigger shops that are on both sides of the border, so they can shift work from their Canadian operations to the U.S. operations, and you're seeing a little bit of that as well. So, I mean, that's kind of what I'm seeing right now. But again, it changes a couple months from now. It could be completely different again.
Yeah, we've had, I mean, in the US, I've seen the same level of uncertainty from people, when it comes to machine sales. You have people that for, 2 years, they're like, we're buying, we're in, we're doing it, we're buying. And each year they just call and they say, listen, I'm sorry, our budget's got totally squashed for the year. We don't know what's coming. We don't know what's going to be happening next. We got to be cautious with our spending. And so that's real. I mean, I think I think that I'm not a political genius and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I think initially the tariffs were supposed to be good. I just don't think they're being done right. Maybe.
Well, the thing is, they need to be done. Is I think the big thing. Wherever they are, everyone I talk to says, just tell me the rules of the game and I can play within it. But when the rules are changing month to month, you don't know where your suppliers are coming from. You don't know where you're selling to. That is what's hurting everyone. I don't think the tariffs are a good idea if you can, but it can't be tariff 10% this month, 50% next month, 20% next month. It needs to be like, okay, this is the deal. This is what it's going to be for at least the next 4 or 6 years or whatever it is. And then people can start, putting together budgets and start planning on where they're going to invest stuff. So I think until it's done, like the USMCA is done, I don't think you're going to have that stability where people are willing to invest. Small projects, maybe buying a machine here and there, but if you're talking about moving a manufacturing facility where you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars,
right,
people want that type of like stability where like you're not going to pay that back in 2 years. So
right.
you need to know that, okay, this is the direction we're going. This is what we're dealing with for the next 4 to 10 years or whatever that timeline might be, depending on the industry. I think they just need to know what the rules of the game are.
Yep. And that's a huge thing. John and I talk about John Massard, our machine sales guy for ID1s, and Luke for the engravers. We talk about forecasting all the time, and it's impossible. Forecasting's impossible because you don't know what's going to be coming. It's a guess. Like, my hope is that we're going to do better than the year before. What am I basing that on? I don't know. The fact that we have hope. Yeah, the fact that we have people that said, I'm going to buy this year, and then they couldn't. They said next year. Okay, cool. There's a chance that that's going to come through, and there's a chance it's going to push again. And so when you look at the forecasting, it's like, I don't even know what to tell you. I'll give you my best guess, but
yeah, that's really all it is that's all you can do. But until the tariffs kind of sort themselves out, and people actually know what's going to happen long term, I don't think anybody's really willing to invest anything more than what they see in the next year. Because we saw it when they put the in Windsor. Like, there was a lot of shops in Windsor when those 15% tariffs came on the steel and steel products. A lot of these shops are only making 15%. So now if you got to add 15% tariff on it, like when it happened right away, well, it's just like, now if you had any issues during that build, you're screwed. You're making zero money or losing money. So like, you can't have that stability where, like, tools don't get built in a night, right? Like, it takes weeks or months to build these things, right? And by the time they're shipped and paid for and whatnot, like, you need to have stability for at least 6 months or so. And we don't have any stability right now as to what is going to happen long term.
Yeah. So let's wrap that up with, I guess, in a world where we don't have stability and we have the unknown and we have uncertainty, it's really, really good to have software that kind of gives you some certainty and allows you to do the same thing over and over again and have a standardized process that you can count on.
Absolutely.
Because there's so many things that you can't.
Absolutely.
All right. So Ryan, I like to end every show with a prayer. Do you have any prayer requests or things that are on your heart?
I do not. I will let you take this one.
All right. Well, everybody's got stuff going on. So, it doesn't matter, where you're at, but, everybody's got stuff going on. So I'll pray, and then we can go about our day.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for this conversation with Ryan. Thank you for the friendship that you have created over the years. And I just pray that you would watch over all of us and that you would give us the guidance that we need in order to continue to provide for the people that work for us and work with us, and continue to do the things that you need us to do. I just pray that this conversation was glorifying to you, and that, people would come to know that, in a world where there is a bunch of uncertainty, we can be certain that you are in control of all the things that are happening in our life. And so we give all of it to you, and it's in Jesus' name we pray. Ryan, thank you for volunteering to come on. You saw the post on LinkedIn and said, hey, I can help out. I can fill in. And it was great. I'm glad that we were able to do that.
I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. I look forward to seeing you at IMTS. I'll be there the back half of the week. I think the first half will be at the Plastics Conference, the National Plastics Conference. And then I'm sure you guys will be at NPE in March.
Yep, I'll be down there as well I don't know if I'm going to be down the full week, but I'll definitely be down there for at least a few days.
Good. All right, buddy. Good talking with you. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Sounds good. I'll see you at IMTS in a few weeks.
All right. See you, Ryan.
All right. Have a good day.
All right. Bye. That is Ryan Weeks. I love that guy. He's always happy. He's always a good guy to talk to when we're at the AMBA conference or whatever trade show we're at. And he's really, really tall, so it's not hard to find him. I mean, if you can't find him, you're not looking. That's what I'll say. He's from CGS North America. If you want to reach him, all you got to do is email him at ryan@camtool.com. Or like he said, he's all over LinkedIn, and you can get a hold of him there. I want to thank everybody for watching and listening and being part of the show and the Manufacturing Alliance. If you would like to tell your story, here's the thing. Everybody has a story worth telling. And everybody has some experience that they can share. I think you should tell your story. And if you'd like to tell your story, I would like to help you tell your story. So just email me at tdemakis, DEMAKIS @alliancesls.com. And we will get you on the boards to be part of the Manufacturing Alliance, or just comment on this video wherever you see it. And we'll reach out and get all of that taken care of. Don't forget to register for the Alliance Golf Outing September 25th. And don't forget to come out to the Plastics, the National Plastics Conference coming up real soon. And enter in that code, Plastics Matters, to save yourself $200 on that registration. That's all I got for now. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Take care and God bless.